Renaissance was a time of recuperation after the effects of the Hundred Years' War, and out of it came the arts and sciences that we have today. Along with the sciences, a new art form emerged that came to be known as theater. Theater was, and somewhat still is, the pinnacle of entertainment in society.
Theaters have evolved from a field to the grand opera houses, but some things haven't changed. For example, basic terms like upstage and downstage still are regularly used. These terms were coined when the stage was slanted downwards towards the audience. So walking toward the crowd was downstage because they were going down the ramp, and walking up that slope was called upstage.
Fairly soon, the theater grew from a field to a sort of stadium like a bull ring. The first ever real theater was called the English Theater, or more commonly, the Elizabethan Theater. This theater lasted from 1562 to 1642, showing many plays by William Shakespeare, Christopher Marlowe, and Ben Jonson.
There were two different types of stages used to perform. One was called Inn of Court, which looks like the Elizabethan, and the other is called a courtyard inn, which is like an open outdoor theater in a field. The first English theater to open was called the Red Lion, and it opened in 1567, but was fairly short-lived. A new type of theater was later developed, as seen in the Blackfriars Theater, which is used regularly in 1599. The difference was that it had a roof, rather than an open sky like the Elizabethan.
In around 1580, theater was the pinnacle of entertainment in society. Like sports stadiums, theaters were built to house over 10,000 people, but like sports, not everyone enjoys it. Some shows were filled to the brim with drunk townspeople looking for a laugh, but sometimes it could be as low as 5,000, just like the empty seats in the stands at a sports game.
The cost of the ticket for a show is based on seating like common day theater. The closer to the stage, the more expensive the tickets. After government inflation, ticket prices increased by almost 6 pence. There are many shows that play in these theaters, and one of them is Thomas Middleton's A Game of Chess, which is recreated today at the famous Renaissance Fair in Pennsylvania.
Theater is one of the lasting extracurricular activities that both boys and girls are allowed to participate in simultaneously. Before co-ed castings that we have today, women weren't allowed to participate in these plays. They only allowed men to be in plays, so they had to cast in woman parts, and they were called dames. Today, you still see dames in a type of family-friendly show called a panto, or interactive theater.
Comedies were funny and quippy stories like The Taming of the Shrew by William Shakespeare. This is a story of a girl that falls in love with a very popular man, and she asks an outcast to help her get with him. But while the outcast tries to help her, he begins to fall in love with her. Most playwrights were not able to create these masterpieces themselves, so people like Shakespeare and Jonson collaborated to make some of them.
There are three main types of theater: tragedy, comedy, and pastoral. Tragedies were romance stories gone bad, like Romeo and Juliet, where the love for each other gets them killed. Comedies were just like the comedies today, with humorous remarks and funny quips. Comedy was made just to have a nice laugh and a fun time. Pastoral plays were like modern-day religious sermons, but built as a romantic story with a beautiful, happy ending, with idealized settings.
Renaissance culture was a beautiful and magnificent time for the growth of society. Though things like science and religion began to become some of the biggest changes in society in the time period, theater was not left far behind. Theater is still a big part of entertainment in society, as seen in Broadway shows and other grand opera performances. Thanks to the Renaissance, theater was built up to its former Greek glory, and many people today enjoy and act in it.